Kind of a real life wizard now. It's weird. Like, no joke. I see him around town sometimes. The guy dresses like a wizard. I am not kidding you. Like, full brown robe, like wizard hat. Like, I think this game might have got to him. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Nostalgia Series. So if it's your first time here, this is basically a series of videos where we boot up an old game, relive some fun memories, and tell some fun stories about the first time we ever played the game. In this episode, I'm talking World of Warcraft, a game that I got into pretty reluctantly, and I was almost forcefully made to play it for the first time. If it's your first time here, though, I really appreciate it if you give the video a like and subscribe if you like the video. It really helps my channel grow. And let's just get right into the episode. What console should I play today? Xbox? SNES? Ooh, what about Dreamcast? Huh, what's that? Oh yeah, my WoW expansion collection. The game that nearly ruined my life. Oh well, let's boot up WoW. Now this is some old school nostalgia. Look at this, this is the original box for World of Warcraft. So when you actually used to get your PC games with cool art and cool boxes and cool stuff. Wow, pretty neat. And it's gonna have 1 billion discs inside of it. Look at all these discs. Look at them all. Let's see how many there is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 discs you used to have to install to play this game. I remember it used to be a whole day. You just had to install games all day. It's like a instruction manual. Wow. Who needs Wowhead, really? I have everything I need right here all along. You don't need Wowhead. Product catalog. Okay. Oh. So I started playing when Burning Crusade was coming out. So now it's like it's showing you all the Burning Crusade stuff. 6 million players. Battle chest. All this for Warcraft 3. It's pretty neat. Pretty neat. All right, let's fire it up. Now that I've got the game installed by throwing the discs at the computer, let's play this game. Load her up. It's been so long since I played this game. Real long time. It's taking a minute. Hey. So let's make a character. So the first time I ever played this game, I played a warrior. So let's build a warrior. It was an alliance warrior. It was an alliance warrior, and it was definitely body type 1. I did not have a body type 2 warrior. What should we make this guy here? Let's make him like pale as a ghost. Let's make him a redhead. Oh yeah, I like that. That's the stink face right there. Give me that. What if we can make him a redhead? Oh yeah, he's mad because he's bald. Okay. Hair color. Gotta go red. Yeah, there you go. He's mad. He's like, I'm mad because my hair's red and I'm bald. Whatever's left is... I'm pissed. Facial hair, which we give him. I kind of like that look. Yeah, because, I mean, let's give him the goatee back because you can't really see the stink face without the goatee. Ooh, and he's got those, like, Scottish sideburns. You know what I mean? Look at him. Look at him. What should we name him? Let's name him Henry Da... Second. Huh? That's a very stupid. Henry the Second. Okay, let's get into this. What a dumb name. Oh my god. Okay, so I've got a good idea here to make this really authentic classic World of Warcraft. To really bring back the memories. Let's skip this. I've seen this 1 billion times. I don't need to watch this. Look at this guy. Look at him. Look at that face. He's like, ugh. I'm in the World of Warcraft. Ugh. Disgusting. Ugh. All right, here we go. Look at this. Look at this. 60 frames of... We didn't run at 60 frames a second back then. Nobody ran at 60 frames. What is this? Look at this draw distance. Look at all this foliage, man. We didn't have this back then. Let's fix this. Let's drop this resolution. We gotta drop this resolution right down to that 480p. That's what we need. We need 480p. See how that looks. All right. Now that is some class. Look at his face now. Oh. Now that's authentic looking. We got that 480p going. But nobody had shadow qualities on high. Are you kidding me? We had those little dot shadows back then. Nobody had liquid detail like that. We gotta take this, we gotta drop this right down to 1. There's one more thing we gotta do here to really make this authentic World of Warcraft. Nobody ran at 60 frames a second. God, you'd be lucky if you got 30. We gotta drop this down to a nice, cool, crisp 20 FPS. That's a pretty standard old school WoW frames per second. Bam. All right, look at it tanking. Boom, boom, boom. 20 FPS. There we go. That's that choppy shit graphics that we're used to. All right, let's begin my quest as a warrior. So I'm going to get right into story time here as I kind of play the game and do things a little differently in this episode. So first thing I want to talk about is probably the first time I ever got into World of Warcraft. And basically what happened is I was an old school RuneScape player. I played RuneScape for probably 4 years or so. I'll just move the mic here away from the keyboard because it's a little clicky. I played RuneScape for about 4 years and played it pretty hardcore. I had a lot of my combat stats were, I think my strength was like 93, attack was like 85, 90, defense was like 80, something like that. I had good range, 72 range. I remember I had 72 range exactly, and I refused to level it any higher than that because I had the fire cape. And people used to say back then you needed like at least 80 range to get the fire cape, and I did it with 72, and people would be super impressed. But anyway, I didn't want to touch World of Warcraft because I knew what getting into World of Warcraft does to people. But my buddy was pretty heavy into it, and he was basically like, oh, come play World of Warcraft, it's so much better, come play WoW, don't play RuneScape, blah, 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 blah. I was reluctant the whole time. We got to start Heroic Strike, and what's going on? I was reluctant. I'm like, buddy, I'm not getting into that game. Because if I get into it, like, I know myself, man, if I get into that game, I ain't getting back out. So he's like, oh, come on, just try it. It's not that bad. It's, such a good game, blah, blah. Anyway, so he basically said, why don't you come over one day while I'm at school. I was a year older than him, and I just graduated high school, and he was just going through grade 12. And he said, why don't you come over, and while I'm away for the afternoon back at school, why don't you come try it? Just make a character and hang out at my house for a few hours. So I was like, fine. Cool. Sounds good. I think I was already over at his house anyway, instead of going home. And he left, and so I made a warrior. Probably looked exactly like Stinkface McGee over here. That's why I should have named him. Should have named him Stankface. Look at him. Oh, man. I kind of want to make a new character with that face now. That face is sweet. So I played, and I got to, level, I want to say, 8 to 10, somewhere in there, in the 3 to 4 hours he was gone. Probably around 4 hours he was gone. Hey, ding, ding, ding. Remember when everyone used to say ding all the time? We still do. But anyway, he said, hang out at my house, play. He got back, I don't know, I'd probably say 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I was level 8, 10. But vividly, I remember the main thing he was impressed about was somehow, and I don't know how I did it, because it still is mind-boggling. I don't know, it doesn't make any sense, because I haven't been able to do it since. But when he came back, he's like, oh, you got pretty far. And then he looked and he said, you have a gold piece. How did you get a gold piece? And I said, I don't know. I just been picking up the stuff and selling it from the guys I've been killing. And he said, well, how? It's only a couple copper at a time. I think his character was like level 30 or something. And he's like, I only have a couple gold pieces at my level. Like, how do you have a gold piece at level 8? And I was confused. I was like, I don't know, man. I'm just playing the game. I don't know. So basically, at that point, what happened was I was playing on his account, so I couldn't exactly continue this warrior. This warrior was just kind of a trial, which I was a little disappointed about that day. And at that point, I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to play if I can't play my warrior. Like, I already put a few hours into him, blah, blah, blah. But what he said at that point was, I'll tell you what. I have a friend that's quit the game recently. Oh, you know what I did? I forgot to pick up those quests. God, I'm a dummy. Look at me. I'm playing like RuneScape already. So he said, I have a friend, quit the game recently. He gave me his account. It just needs time. But that way you don't have to buy the game. So I'll just give you this account. Fun fact, this is the exact same account that I use to this day. But I was able to, years and years ago, transfer everything over to my name. So nothing remains on this account that is linked to him whatsoever. And not to mention he doesn't play anymore. He's actually kind of a real life wizard now. It's weird. Like, no joke. I see him around town sometimes. The guy dresses like a wizard. I am not kidding you. Like, full brown robe, like wizard hat. Like, I think this game might have got to him. He gave me this account. Said all you have to do is go buy WoW Time. It costs you like $15. You just go get one of the cards from Walmart or whatever. And I said, all right, fine. So he gave me his disc to install on my computer at home. And I gotta talk to Buddy over here. Installed the game, bought the time, and dude, I went hard for the 30 days of time that I had. Because I was like fresh out of high school. I didn't really have a consistent job at that point. I didn't really have too much disposable income at that point, even like, back then, $15 to throw at the game. So, let's go sell some stuff. So he said, here's the thing, gave me the game. I went from there. And I played it hard for about a month. I got to, I want to say, I believe it was level 48 is where I got to before the 30 days ended. And how I got there, which, again, boggles my mind, is because I was a RuneScape player before playing World of Warcraft. All I knew and all I really wanted to do was just grind. So what I did was I literally, kid you not, didn't really complete a single quest, grinded my way all the way to 48 on my first character. Got all the way to 48, grinding only. No joke. But because of this, and it's the same thing with the gold piece, which he stole, by the way. He stole that and put it on his own character. He wouldn't give me my gold piece that I farmed back. But because of this, I was absurdly rich. I remember leveling my first character. I remember buying a dazzling longsword for like 150 gold or something like that. Like an epic sword when I was like in the level 30s. I think it's a level 36 sword or something like that. I'm putting a crusader enchant on it, which was like another 100 gold to enchant it, and still having hundreds of gold left over. Just because all I did was grind. And here's the other funny thing I did. So what I would do, again, because I was a RuneScape player, everything that dropped, whether it was cloth, whether it was ore, because I just sold freaking everything. I didn't keep shit. I literally sold everything. All the greens, everything. When I would get a blue, I think I even got a couple epics as I went through the later levels, because all I was doing was grinding. And I would go to Stormwind, and I would sit there, and I would spam the trade chat like it was the Varrock Bank. I would sit there like I was selling lobbies. I would sit there and be like, whatever, Belt of the Whale, 2G, and I would sit there and I'd spam it over and over and over until someone bought it. I didn't sell a damn thing on the auction house because I was like, well, if I sell it on the auction house takes a cut. And I would literally sit there for hours just selling. I would just stand there and just like do circles. That tree that's right outside the auction house, I must have done 10,000 circles around that tree just selling stuff. But again, I was just super rich. So what happened after that is I kind of had to get a job, and I didn't really have the WoW time, and my mom was getting upset that I was on her computer all the time. So I was like, you know what I'm going to do? is I'm going to buy my own computer. I didn't have like, all I had was like the family computer. And I'm going to buy my own computer, and I'm going to get my own WoW time, and that way I can play WoW. So I worked a job over the winter. Hey, we got a pouch. Hell yes, brother. And I got a computer, and I got my WoW time. And at this point, this would have been, because when I started playing this game, I want to say it was fall of 2006. So Burning Crusade was like around the corner. Burning Crusade was coming. I think we were in, everything was out at that point. We were approaching like pre-patch time. So by the time I got the game again, some things changed, because I believe it was in like February or so by the time I actually had time to play the game again. And loaded it up, got my own computer, ran the game like crap. This is pretty much what it looked like. I had to turn all the graphics down to nothing. Now, one thing I will say is that Classic WoW doesn't have that authentic draw distance. If you remember from back then, when you turn your draw distance down, dude, like no joke, this wolf here might be as far as you'd be able to see, and there'd be a blue wall there of just mist. Do you guys remember the mist? It's essentially gone, even in Classic. Like, they don't really do the mist. Like, it can't look far enough to see mist anymore. Like this right out there, see that gray mist-ish, but I could still kind of see the trees and stuff back there. Dude, that was like where this wolf is now. That was like as far as I could see on my first. It was just a crappy, not even a gaming laptop. I think it had integrated graphics and whatnot. But yeah, I played from Burning Crusade, and I remember I leveled my character right up to 60, and then I had to buy the Burning Crusade, which I bought Burning Crusade, and that's when my computer started running real bad when I got to the Burning Crusade areas. I remember going through, Hellfire Peninsula at like 11 frames a second the whole time. That's how bad it was. But anyway, what what happened after that is I remember finding out about World of Warcraft Endgame because I finally hit the appropriate level. I remember trying to join guilds because I wanted to go to Karazhan. I kept hearing all this stuff about Karazhan's the raid. Gotta go to Karazhan to get your epics. I was like, perfect, and they were talking about a super hard dungeon, which it's not. And Karazhan's where it's at. I remember trying to join a guild, and these guys telling me, they said, and this is funny, that because I was a warrior, I couldn't do damage. Warriors sucked at damage. All they were good for was tanking. Now, if you played any Classic, you will know that is not the case. Warriors, but they do a lot of damage. They were the top damage dealers of Classic. But they said, because you don't have CC, because you don't have anything, you gotta be a tank. And I said, no, I don't want to be a tank. I don't want to be sword and board. I want to be Fury, dual wielding boss like I am right now, and I'll figure it out. So what I ended up doing was I actually made my own guild. And I had my own guild for a while. And I recruited people, and it was tough. And this is basically when I got into my World of Warcraft addiction. That's right, I got really badly addicted to World of Warcraft. I'm talking 16 hours a day, almost 7 days a week, for probably a good 6 to 9 months. It was the better part of 2007. I was severely addicted to World of Warcraft, and it wasn't good. And a lot of that just had to come down to the fact that I was trying to do my own guild, and it was basically like a full-time job trying to run a guild. Especially at that point, people were so flaky, and people just hop guilds all the time based on what other guilds are downing, and nobody ever wanted to put in the work to, work together as a team. It was more just about like, what can I get today? You know what I mean? So I guess I suffered pretty bad from an addiction to the game. And we did well. I mean, I got the guild through Karazhan. We had a couple teams that were clearing Karazhan. We went and cleared Gruul's Lair. We cleared the majority of Serpent's Shrine Cavern. We just couldn't kill, what's-her-face? The snake boss at the end. We got a couple bosses down in Tempest Keep. And at that point, I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't put in the time. I started a new job. I maintained weirdly enough, I maintained a girlfriend through this entire World of Warcraft addiction period. Don't ask me how. But I gotta go hand these quests in. And yeah, it got really bad, so I kind of had to step away from the game, and I kind of stepped away. Like, I kind of only really played a little more casually for probably, because when would that be? BC came out early 2007, Wrath came out late 2008. So I probably, for the first half of 2008, just kind of played more casually. And I ended up making a mage, and I joined a guild. Shout out White Rose Shadow, shout out Firo, guild leader. And I raided with these guys pretty consistently for, I mean, not even consistently, I just raided with them every freaking day. For the better part of probably close to 3 years, maybe over 3 years. Shout out. And yeah, really good experience. I mean, from that point, we had a pretty, it was an okay guild. It was mostly, playing with your friends that was more than anything in this guild. What level am I now? 3? I can get some training. And yeah, I raided with these guys for a few years, and then I ended up moving on because my guild leader and a bunch of other players ended up quitting the game, and I moved on to a much better guild. Shout out Ether and Tuna and Don and Ilzen and all those guys. And I raided with those guys for probably a little over 2 years, from basically all of Mists of Pandaria. I think maybe the very end of Cataclysm is maybe when I joined. I can't remember actually when I joined. Definitely raided with them all through Mists of Pandaria. Really good guild. I think at our peak we got to around World 200. So we didn't mess around. The whole guild was about on par with each other as far as like skill levels go. Like, we didn't really have much of a weak link. It was a really good experience raiding with those guys. But eventually, a couple of them decided we want to move on to, we want to be in like the top guilds. We want to move on to some of the guilds that are clearing the bosses, first. Which we were always the guild that was like, we were number 1 on our server, but we were usually the guild that would be like one of the first guilds to kill it once the videos come out. You know what I mean? It'd take a week or two for the videos to come out, where Method and all those other guilds from back then are grinding the hell out of the dungeon, and once they figure out how to do it and put the video out, we then kill it pretty promptly, most of the bosses from there. But yeah, I raided with those guys for a while, but after they quit, and I'll say this like all the time, World of Warcraft, I think, mostly thrives off of community and thrives off of the friends you have along the way. And because of them not playing the game anymore, I didn't really want to play either. I ended up joining another guild after that. At the very end of Mists of Pandaria, I raided with them only for a couple months. And then if I figured that they moved up, I'm moving up too. So I moved up, and the guild that I was in, we were 36th in the world. So this is kind of a guild that was trying to compete for that number 1 spot as far as downing the bosses, world first type of stuff. So very, very hardcore. And it really burnt me out. And I remember I've never been screamed at so hard before by by someone on a voice chat when I joined this guild, because they had a 2 mistake rule. They said, first mistake is your only mistake. Second mistake, you're out of the guild. So I said, okay, crazy. So I remember we were doing, I can't remember how many bosses were in that final Siege of Orgrimmar in Mists of Pandaria, but I remember Paragons of the Claxi, and I remember it pretty well, because what happened was I was so used to how my guild did it from before, because there's a certain order you basically have to kill the bosses. And I was so used to how my guild killed them that muscle memory took over while we were fighting the boss, and I attacked the wrong bug. Which, if you attack the wrong bug, it can cause a lot of issues. I caused a wipe, and I got screamed at over the microphone. I got called an idiot and a multitude of other names. I'm useless, shit player, blah, blah, blah. felt real good about it, you know? And that was kind of like the end of my World of Warcraft from there. I mean, I went through the raid. I didn't make another mistake. I continued to raid with those guys for probably a month. After that, you know, after I apologized profusely for making a minor mistake, even though it did cause a wipe, you know, just a muscle memory mistake. That really burnt me out. And then, you know, I got to level 91 in Warlords of Draenor, and that's when I quit and put the game down. At least until the inevitable return of Classic. Good old Classic. So, Classic comes out in 2019. Well, I gotta play Classic. I can't not play Classic, you know? Because at that point, I felt that Classic was the one that I missed. Because I started playing so late in Classic that auto run, so much fun. I started playing in such late Classic that I never got to do any of the raiding. I didn't even really got to see any of the endgame zones like Eastern Plaguelands or anything like that, really in their prime, you know? So it was like, well, I want to play Classic. And I kind of want to play Mage through Classic because that's what I missed out on my Mage. You know, I mained the Mage all through the majority of my World of Warcraft except that initial Warrior I had. So I wanted to play Mage. So I booted up a Mage, and of course my buddy that originally got me into the game was also the one that was like, are we going to play Classic? And he was the one that was like, we're going to play on a PvP server. I hate PvP servers so much. I really don't like it. And he's like, we're going to play Horde, which I had traditionally always played Alliance, which is fine. I mean, where do we go here? Not a big deal. Let's head up to the Kobold Cave. And so I got back in it, but then I found, because from my understanding, kind of how people talked about it, you know, when I was heavy in my World of Warcraft, was that, you know, the game kind of got soft over time, and the original World of Warcraft was the best, and Classic, and it was really difficult. It was much darker, and it wasn't as cartoony, and blah, 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 blah. Classic World of Warcraft is a joke. The difficulty in Classic World of Warcraft, most of the fights are just tank and spank. So when I went back to it, I was a little disappointed. And then I was also very disappointed because world buffs. So I ended up joining a guild that was pretty good. They were a bit of a parse guild. You know, they always wanted to get their top parses, essentially. And you had to have your flasks. You had to have all your world buffs. You had to have all this crap. And it burnt me out on Classic because I just... I hated it. I played through till the phase AQ40, killed Seathun. To this day, I still never... I've never even stepped foot in original Naxxramas. Never stepped foot in original Naxxramas because the world buffs really just burnt me out. The fact that you would just have to sit there for hours and hours and hours on end before raid, collecting these stupid world buffs just for someone to wipe the raid on trash, and then all your efforts done. Or, even worse, on a PvP server, because at this point, they didn't have the, whatever they are, the things that save your buff, chromatic displacer, or whatever it is. Oh, chromatic boon, whatever it is. Look at how pixelated this is. But anyway, they didn't have that stuff, so it was super fun, because then you'd go to raid, you know, spend 3-4 hours gathering all these world buffs, then you'd be walking to raid, you'd always want to go with your raid team, but there's always a chance that some rogue, you know, that had a bad day, and he just has nothing else to do besides grief other people, decided, I'm going to kill you, and your world buffs are all going to be gone. So, world buffs, you didn't even need to beat these bosses, because they were a joke anyway. So it really just... You know, on top of the raid time, I didn't like it. So I ended up quitting Classic. Until Burning Crusade. And once Burning Crusade was coming, I was like, oh man, well that's my favorite one. I gotta play Burning Crusade. And Burning Crusade's better, you know? I mean, there's no world buffs. The dungeons aren't just all tank and spank. They're actual mechanics. Now we're actually gonna be like, this is like, you know, Burning Crusade is hard. Outside of like Lady Vash, that's her name, Kael'thas, and like Sunwell Illidan-ish. It's not hard at all. So I was a little disappointed with the difficulty, but it was fun to relive it all and kind of do it on my mage as well, because I did most of Burning Crusade on my warrior. So it was cool to kind of redo it on the mage. And I ended up joining a guild that I'm in to this day. Shout out to those guys there, and I'm sure they'll probably end up watching this video. But we play Classic, we play Season of Discovery, and I've been pretty much playing ever since. I go through heavier periods or lighter periods of the game, depending on what's coming out. I feel like I have a much healthier relationship now with the game than I did back in 2007. There's definitely points, when those Season of Discovery patches hit, where it's like, well, this is a 16-hour day, but you know what I mean? That's a one-day thing. It's not like I'm doing it 6 days a week. So, yeah, and I'm enjoying the game kind of as it is. So that's pretty much like the story and of how I got into World of Warcraft and how I've kind of played it for, the better part of 20 years at this point, and kind of my journey through the game. And it's one of those games that it's definitely the game out of everything by an incredible long shot. Like, God, I would be surprised. Like, honestly, I think I put more time into World of Warcraft than possibly all the other games I've ever played combined. That's how many hours. Isn't that wild? Because if I look at my old characters, if I log on to retail and /played them, I think between those characters I have about 400 days of playtime. And I don't even know how many I have on like my Classic and Season of Discovery characters. Probably another, 150 days of playtime. That's a lot of hours. That's a lot of hours. So it's possible that I may have put more time into this game than every other game combined. So this game in general deserves its own video for sure. I do still play this game, so this isn't so much of a nostalgia trip as maybe booting up Mario 2 or Zombies Ate My Neighbors or anything like that. But this game still deserves its own video and its own telling of my story of how I got into it, and struggling with my WoW addiction and whatnot. And it's crazy. So I thought I'd put this little twist on it where I make the graphics absolutely crap and make it run 20 frames a second, like our old crappy PCs used to back in the day. Make it look all jaggy. Anyway, I want to hear your stories down below. Let me know how you got into World of Warcraft for the first time, how long you've played, are you still playing, what expansions you play, what's your favorite expansions. Let me know. Anything you want down below. I thank you guys very much for tuning in to another episode of Nostalgia Series, and I'll catch you guys again in a couple weeks. Take care.